Amidst the hustle and chaos under the Oshodi Bridge, a question rings out, challenging all logic and social norms. Will you marry me? On a Monday morning in Oshodi, the usual chaos falls into an abrupt silence. The blare of horns and the shouts of street vendors halt as a gleaming black Rolls-Royce pulls up under the overpass. All eyes turn to the woman in the emerald green dress who steps out. This is Juliana, a widowed billionaire. Her heels click on the pavement as she walks toward a man huddled beside a pile of garbage. His tangled beard, matted hair, and tattered, soiled coat cannot hide the haggardness on his face. This is Sam, and he is all too accustomed to shielding himself from the world. As the crowd murmurs with curiosity, Juliana slowly kneels on the dirty ground. Tears stream down her cheeks, but her gaze remains fixed on Sam. From her expensive handbag, she pulls out a glittering diamond ring. Her voice, full of sincerity and love, rings out, "I know everything. I know the injustices you have endured. The world has not been fair to you, but I have come to offer you a second chance. Sam, will you marry me?" Sam is stunned. He looks at the unfamiliar woman, at the expensive ring, then down at his own ragged clothes. A bitter, sarcastic smile flickers across his lips. Is this a joke? Some ridiculous reality TV show? Sam stiffens, his eyes empty, as if his soul has been drained. The crowd around them begins to buzz, waiting for an answer. But Sam does something unexpected. He slowly raises his hand and points directly at her Rolls-Royce. "If you're serious," he says, "give me that car." Looking deep into Juliana's eyes, Sam sees no pity or mockery. He sees an incredible sincerity, something he has not felt in far too long. He decides to test her. "You want to marry me?" His voice is hoarse, every word heavy with weight. "Then I have one condition." He points his trembling hand at the glossy black Rolls-Royce. "I want that car." The crowd begins to laugh, whispering and calling him a greedy beggar. But Juliana remains calm. She nods decisively. "All right." Sam sneers. "That's not all. If you want to propose to me, do it properly. Go to that jewelry store over there, buy another ring. A ring you buy for me, not for yourself. Then come back here, kneel down, and ask again, sincerely." The crowd is in an uproar, whispering, "This guy is insane, and he's lost his mind." But Juliana does not waver. He believes this challenge will make her give up. No rich woman would humble herself like this. But he is wrong. Juliana stands up without a moment of hesitation. She pulls a set of car keys from her handbag, the metal clinking sharply. "Take the keys, it's yours," she says, placing them in Sam's calloused, dirty hand. "Now, wait for me." She turns and walks into the small roadside jewelry store, to the amazement of everyone watching. A few minutes later, she returns with a different box. She kneels down again, her gaze more determined than ever. "Sam," she calls his name, the name she read in a news article. "I bought this ring for you. I gave you my car. I am giving you my trust. Now, please answer me. Will you marry me?" Sam stares at her. The first tear in years rolls down his gaunt cheek. He no longer sees a billionaire, but a woman offering him a chance, a salvation. The dignity he thought he had lost long ago suddenly reawakens. He slowly nods. I accept." Sam blinks. For the first time in 5 years, a faint smile spreads across his face. He drops his hand, and Juliana smiles softly as she places the ring on his finger. The crowd erupts in cheers, applause, and tears. She opens the door to the Rolls-Royce, gently helping him inside like a king. Sam gets into the car, leaving his life on the streets behind. A new chapter of his life, and Juliana's, has officially begun. Afterward, she turns back, looks at the stunned faces one last time, and drives away. Applause and cheers explode from the crowd, who have just witnessed a fairy tale in the middle of everyday life. Juliana smiles, a genuinely radiant smile. Why would a billionaire propose to a homeless man in Oshodi? 5 years ago, Juliana Obina, the only daughter of oil magnate Chief Obina, had everything except love. Despite living in a luxurious mansion, her heart was empty. The promise she made to her dying father haunted her. "Promise me you will get married." Then came Jonathan, a man who seemed suspiciously perfect. Because of her promise, she accepted. A quiet wedding took place in the living room, with her father smiling weakly from his bed, hooked up to an IV. Afterward, they had a son named John. 2 days later, Chief Abina passed away, leaving Juliana with a loveless marriage and a hidden grief. Juliana lived in pretense for 9 months. A week after the funeral, Jonathan disappeared, taking over $1 million from the company's accounts. Investigators reported that he had flown to Dubai, and that was the last she ever heard of him. "He never loved me," she cried silently, hugging her baby son. "He only married me for my money." 5 years passed. Juliana turned 33, and her son, Johnson, was now 5. The boy was the only light in her life, but his innocent questions tore at her heart. "Mommy, when is Daddy coming home?" Her initial lies eventually turned to tears. Finally, Juliana realized she wasn't looking for an answer, but for hope. That's when she read the story. A shocking article about the tragic fall of Nigeria's most brilliant chemical engineer. Once a brilliant engineer at a leading oil company, Sam was framed by a colleague, falsely accused, and served 4 years in prison. Upon his release, he had lost everything. His wife and children were gone, along with his bank accounts and his mansion. All his attempts to rebuild his life failed, and he eventually drifted to Oshodi. But Juliana saw something different. She saw a man who had survived great hardship and still had the strength to start over. She believed a person like that would not betray her. Juliana believed they both deserved a second chance, and so she decided. She put on her best dress, took the diamond ring, and drove her Rolls-Royce to Oshodi. Sitting in the Rolls-Royce, Sam looked around at the luxurious interior in disbelief. "Why me?" he asked shakily. "Because I see the same pain in your eyes," Juliana replied. "I want someone who understands what it means to lose everything and still knows how to love." Sam looked into her eyes and whispered, "I accept, but on one condition. You must promise me that no matter what happens, you will never abandon me the way the world did." "I swear," she responded, taking his hand, and so their story began. A week after the shocking proposal, Nigerian media exploded with sensational headlines. "Billionaire proposes to homeless man, true love or madness." But Juliana did not care. She wasn't seeking fame, she was seeking healing for both of them. That night, Juliana took Sam straight to Monarch Suites, one of the most luxurious hotels in Victoria Island. Although the staff was hesitant about his appearance, one look from Juliana was enough to make them bow their heads. In the royal suite, Sam stood stunned. His lips trembled as he mumbled, "This can't be for me." Juliana gently placed a hand on his chest and said, "It is, and this is just the beginning. You'll stay here tonight. Tomorrow, we have a lot to do," she said softly. The next day was a whirlwind of changes. Sam was taken to a high-end spa. He soaked in a hot bath, feeling as though all the dirt and humiliation of the past years were being washed away. His hair and beard were neatly trimmed, revealing a sharp, intelligent face with deep, resolute eyes. Afterward, a private tailor arrived to take his measurements. A few hours later, a perfectly tailored suit was delivered. Hiding under the grime of 5 years of hardship, Sam sat with his eyes closed in the hot tub, letting the warm water wash away the dirt and pain. A professional barber neatly trimmed his beard, revealing the strong jawline that had been forgotten for so long. A doctor checked his health and gave him advice. A tailor meticulously measured him for a custom navy suit. When Sam emerged from the dressing room that evening, Juliana was speechless. The man who had once been considered an insane beggar now stood there with the bearing of a prince. "You look like the man you were always meant to be," she said, her eyes glistening. Sam looked in the mirror, not recognizing himself. "I used to be somebody," he murmured. "You still are," Juliana whispered, "and from now on, the whole world will see it." Juliana herself was stunned. Standing before her was no longer the haggard, homeless man, but a refined gentleman, exuding confidence and intellect. The physique of the talented engineer from years ago had returned. The next morning, Juliana convened the board of directors of Abina Global Resources. "Gentlemen," she began, "I would like to introduce our new chief chemical engineer, Mr. Sam." The conference room went silent, then buzzed with whispers. Mr. Adebayo, a long-time member, spoke up skeptically. "Juliana, with all due respect, this man's resume has a huge gap, and we have heard the rumors about where you found him." Juliana had Sam's impressive resume projected on a screen, his excellent degree and his past successful projects. "Yes," she admitted, "he has been through a difficult time, but talent does not disappear. It simply waits for an opportunity to shine, and I believe Abina Global will be that place." Just then, Sam spoke up, his voice low and clear. "I see that the new refining project is having issues with catalyst efficiency. Based on the preliminary reports, the problem is not the catalyst, but the temperature and pressure of the reactor. We can increase efficiency by at least 15% by adjusting the process." The entire room fell into a stunned silence. A director cleared his throat, full of doubt. "With all due respect, Juliana, are you saying that this homeless man is now going to be a member of our executive board?" Juliana placed an envelope on the table. "Before you refuse, please look at this. You will find his academic records, achievements, published research, and accolades from 3 major oil companies, all from before he was falsely accused and imprisoned." As they opened the envelope, everyone's expressions changed. One man nervously held a paper and said, He was published in the International Journal of Petroleum Chemistry." Juliana nodded, her voice full of pride. "That's right. He is the very person who developed the efficiency model that Petroline used back in 2015. Sam finally spoke, his voice powerful. "I am not here to beg for sympathy. I am here to rebuild." The room was silent. Then one of the oldest members smiled, leaned forward, and said, "Then, welcome, Mr. Uche." That evening, when Juliana brought Sam home to her mansion, a young boy of about 8 years old ran out. It was Johnson, Juliana's son. The boy looked at Sam with a curious and wary gaze. "Mommy, who is this?" "This is Uncle Sam, Johnson. He'll be staying with us for a while." That night, before going to bed, Johnson shyly went to Sam's room. He stood at the door, clutching his teddy bear. "Are you going to leave?" the boy asked. The others, they all left. Sam looked into the boy's young eyes, filled with anxiety. He remembered his own loneliness. He knelt down to Johnson's level. "I am not going anywhere," he said, his voice firm. "I'll be here, I promise." It was the first promise he had made in his new life. And from that moment, a father-son relationship began to be built, a relationship more important than status or money. The months that followed were a testament to Juliana's faith. Sam threw himself into his work with fiery passion. At first, there were challenges as he had to catch up with the significant changes in technology, but with his natural talent and extraordinary determination, he quickly mastered everything. He restructured the entire production process of the factory, not only saving the company millions of dollars annually, but also creating a new byproduct that brought in an unexpected stream of revenue. He became Abina Global's brightest star. One beautiful evening, 6 months after that fateful day, Sam invited Juliana to a luxurious restaurant overlooking the sea. He was no longer a man who received help. He was a partner, a man who had rediscovered himself. After dinner, he led her to a windy balcony. This time, it was his turn to kneel. He opened a box containing a simple yet elegant platinum ring. "Juliana," he began, his voice filled with emotion, "you saw me when no one else did. You believed in me when I had stopped believing in myself. You gave me a new life, a family. Last time, you proposed to me. This time, please allow me to do it properly. Juliana, will you marry me?" Tears of joy streamed down Juliana's cheeks. She nodded frantically, "Yes, 1,000 times yes. Their wedding became the event of the year, hailed by the media as a love story written in grace. They were not just husband and wife, they were partners who worked together to expand Abina Global's reach across Africa. 3 years later, a wonderful surprise came their way. Juliana became pregnant. Their joy was boundless when she gave birth to a baby girl. They named her Amara and gave her Juliana's son's middle name, Johnson, to symbolize their family's unity. Their home was always filled with laughter and love. Sam became an exemplary father, patiently teaching Johnson about courage and instilling in Amara a passion for chemistry from an early age. One Saturday afternoon, while Sam was working in his study, Johnson tiptoed in, holding a crayon drawing. "Dad," the boy said, "when I grow up, I want to fly." Sam looked at him, surprised. "Fly what?" "Airplanes. I want to be a pilot." Sam smiled. But what Johnson didn't know was that tragedy was lurking around the corner, and the next 5 years would test that dream in unimaginable ways. Sam and Juliana would face a horrifying challenge. Nearly 6 years had passed since the unusual proposal under the Oshodi overpass, but Juliana still cherished that memory. Their daughter, Amara, was now 4 years old. Johnson, at 11, had grown into a tall, brave boy, carrying both Sam's strength and his mother's grace. Johnson's dream of becoming a pilot never faded. Every evening, while his friends played football, he would sit and sketch planes, cut wings out of cardboard, or immerse himself in books about aviation. His room was filled with airplane posters, and he called his toy plane the Osho Jet. One day, Sam walked into the room and found his son building a cardboard cockpit. "Dad," Johnson beamed, "one day, you and Mom will sit on my plane, and I will take you to Paris." Sam sat down next to his son, swallowed hard, and smiled. "And I will be your proudest passenger, son." Years passed, and Amara grew into a talented young woman, inheriting her father's love for chemistry. She was admitted to the chemical engineering program at the University of Nigeria at just 16. That same year, Johnson was accepted into the Nigerian Aviation School. "Go and make the sky your playground," Juliana whispered as she hugged her son. "But remember who you are." "Yes, Mom," Johnson replied. "I am Johnson Uche, the boy who grew from the ashes." Life seemed perfect until tragedy struck. In his second year of aviation school, one of Johnson's close friends died in a training plane crash. Grief and fear enveloped the school. Johnson was devastated. He dropped out of school, stopped talking, and stopped drawing planes. All of Juliana's and Sam's efforts were in vain. One night, Amara walked into her brother's room and handed him a framed photograph, the picture of their parents under the Oshodi overpass from years ago. "Do you know why this photo hangs in our main hallway?" she asked softly. "It's the day a man who had lost everything was asked to dream again. And he did. Now it's your turn, big brother." "Do you really believe I can do it?" Johnson said, his voice raw from weeks of silence. "I don't just believe," Amara smiled. "I'll be on your first flight." That night, Johnson picked up his aviation books again and never looked back. He took to the skies. 3 years later, Juliana wore a silver lace dress, and Sam was in a sleek black suit. They stood there, filled with pride, as their son, Johnson Uche Obina, emerged in his pilot's uniform, confident and brave. Juliana burst into tears, and Sam held her, whispering, "He did it, Juliana, he really did it." Later that year, Johnson became a pilot for an international airline. On one of his flights, he met Dr. Sandra Ezek, a young woman with a gentle smile and a passion for medicine. They talked for hours, and when they parted, Sandra left a note, "Call me when you're ready to fly together again." Meanwhile, Amara was also shining brightly. She graduated at the top of her class in chemical engineering at the age of 19. Juliana and Sam were overwhelmed with joy as they watched their daughter receive a prestigious award. It was a moment of a full circle, from under an overpass to the pinnacle of success. Amara later met George Nwoko, an enthusiastic young pharmacist. They shared ideas and dreams, and Juliana noticed her daughter smiling more often. Years later, at Amara's lavish wedding to a young doctor, Sam, now a dignified and happy middle-aged man, gave a moving speech. He recounted his life story, not with bitterness, but with gratitude. "I once had everything, then lost it all, and had to live in the shadows. But then an angel came, not to grant me wealth, but to remind me who I was. Her love and the trust of my children gave me a family, a home, and a new purpose in life." Just as he finished, an old, haggard-looking man walked up from the back of the room. His face was etched with the wrinkles of anguish. It was Maxwell, the colleague who had framed Sam years ago. Tormented by guilt for so many years, he had come here after reading about the wedding, not to cause trouble, but to seek liberation. "Sam, Maxwell stammered, his voice trembling. Before hundreds of eyes, he knelt down. "I'm sorry. It was all my fault. My jealousy blinded me. I ruined your life." The entire room held its breath, waiting for Sam's reaction. Everyone expected him to get angry, to call security, to gloat over his enemy's downfall. But instead, Sam stepped down from the stage, walked over to Maxwell, and gently helped him to his feet. "I forgive you," Sam said, his voice deep and warm, echoing through the silent space. "Hatred imprisoned me in darkness once. I will not let it imprison you anymore. You deserve peace, Maxwell." That action, those words, were more powerful than any revenge. It was not just an end to a painful past, but also a testament to the character of a man who had weathered the storm and found forgiveness. The wedding reception continued, but the atmosphere had become more profound and meaningful. That evening, while watching their guests dance in joy, Juliana turned and took Sam's hand. "You know," she said, her eyes sparkling, "seeing Maxwell today and seeing how you dealt with him, it made me think, how many people out there are like you used to be, people with talent and integrity, who stumble and have no one to reach out to help them." Sam looked at her, understanding his wonderful wife's thoughts. "Many, my dear. So many people are just missing a chance." Juliana smiled, a determined smile. "Then let's create that chance." She stepped onto the stage once more, taking the microphone. The music stopped, and all attention turned to her again. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announced, her voice full of inspiration, "today is a day of love, new beginnings, and forgiveness. To celebrate this special day, and to spread the magic that brought Sam and me together, we have decided to establish a charitable foundation." She paused for a moment, looking at Sam with great affection. "The foundation will be named the Uche Foundation. In our native Igbo language, Uche means will or purpose. Its goal is to find talented and resilient people facing hardship, especially in the fields of technology and engineering. We will provide them with training, resources, and most importantly, a second chance to rewrite their life stories." A thunderous applause erupted. It was not just a blessing for a charity, but a tribute to a great love story.